Okay, let's begin the class. Today we are going to discuss the block introduction. So let's look into the passage. Block 1 of this course on classical Indian literature will begin with Kalidasa's best-known Sanskrit play, Abhignana Shakuntala. So, since we had already discussed about the paper Indian classical literature, and there are going to be different blocks, and in each block, what are we going to study? Everything we have discussed earlier. And so this particular block is about the Abhignana Shakuntala by Kalidasa. So we have a different, we have different blocks, and we have different units. And so this one block is all talking about Abhignana Shakuntala, and there are going to be different units in this block. So and we are having the play of Kalidasa's Abhignana Shakuntala. It's one of the best known Sanskrit play. It's one of the best known Sanskrit play. So block 1 of this course on classical Indian literature will begin with Kalidasa's best known Sanskrit play, Abhignana Shakuntala, which tells the tale of a young girl raised in a hermitage by a sage who is actually the daughter of an extremely learned sage, Vishwamitra, and a celestial dancer, Menaka. So, who is this Shakuntala? Who is this Shakuntala? That is what we are going to discuss here. So, Abhignana Shakuntala tells the tale of a young girl. So, Abhignana Shakuntala is telling the tale of a young girl. This young girl, even though she got uh, a, a royal lineage, but she was brought up in a hermitage. She was brought up in a hermitage. She was the daughter of dancer Menaga. So she's not a common lady. She is a celestial dancer. So Shakuntala's mother is a celestial dancer, and her name is Menaga. And her father is a learned sage by the name Vishwamitra. So she was from such a good background, but she was raised in a hermitage. So that is one thing that we need to understand. So Shakuntala was raised in a hermitage by a sage. Shakuntala is actually the daughter of an extremely learned sage Vishwamitra, and a celestial dancer Menaka. Okay. So block 1 of this course on classical Indian literature will begin with Kalidasa's best-known Sanskrit play Abhignana Shakuntala, which tells the tale of a young girl raised in a hermitage by a sage, and who is actually the daughter of an extremely learned sage Vishwamitra, and a celestial dancer Menaka. Now, let's proceed. King Dushyanta is hunting in the forest near the hermitage. So, we know, like, at olden days, the kings used to go for hunting. They go to the forest and they do hunting. So, King Dushyanta also went for hunting, and he reached near to this hermitage. We know hermitage are places where people live in complete seclusion from the society. The sage or people of that category, they will not be living in the villages where all the other commotions and all such things were happening. They want peace atmosphere where they can meditate, they can pray, they can read, learn. So sages usually live far away from the villages or far away from the busy, crowded places, and they tend to live in the forest. When they are in the forest, they can concentrate on their prayer, meditation, and all other things. So King Dushyanta, for the purpose of hunting, he went into the forest, and in the forest he saw the hermitage, And since he's a king, he would have gone there to see who all are live there. And, it's a king's duty to do so. So here again, Dushyanta, as the king, he went to that hermitage where Shakuntala lives. And Shakuntala, even though she was the daughter of Managa and daughter of Vishwamitra and Managa, she is presently being raised by another hermit by the name Kanva. So she is presently being raised by another saint by the name Kanva. And Kanva is raising Shakuntala as his own daughter. She is abandoned by Vishwamitra and Menaga for various reasons. Even though Shakuntala's parents were Vishwamitra and Menaga, still they abandoned her, and hermit Kanva is raising her. Dushyanta comes to the hermitage unadorned as a commoner and falls in love with Shakuntala. So King Dushyanta, he is not coming with all his kingly attire. He is coming as a common man, unadorned as a commoner. But still, Shakuntala loves him, and they are falling in love. He comes to the hermitage unadorned as a commoner and falls in love with Shakuntala. So even though he comes as comes in the dress of a common man, Shakuntala gets attracted to him, and they are falling in love. Shakuntala and the king get married in the hermitage, and she is with a child. And Shakuntala and the king got married, and Shakuntala became pregnant. But Dushyanta has to leave for his kingdom, but he gives Shakuntala his signet ring as a token of his love for her. For some time, Dushyanta would have been with Shakuntala at that hermitage. But Dushyanta cannot live in the hermitage forever. He needs to go to the palace and need to rule the kingdom. Since Dushyanta has to leave for his kingdom, he gave Shakuntala his signet ring as a token of his love for her. Now, when someone has the signet ring, it really shows the signet ring. When somebody gets a signet ring, it really shows whose signet ring is that. Since king has given his signet ring to Shakuntala, that means Shakuntala can anytime approach the king, and always she can be completely sure that whenever she approached the king, he's going to receive her. Because she is having the signet ring. So when as long as Shakuntala is having the signet ring, it gives her such a greater confidence that anytime she can approach the king without any problem. So Shakuntala, after marrying Shakuntala, Dushyanta gave his signet ring, and he went to the palace. So even though Dushyanta is not there, Shakuntala need not worry. Why? She is having the signet ring of the king. But what is happening in the story? However, as fate would have it, Shakuntala is lost in the thought of king. Shakuntala, after Dushyanta left to the kingdom, Shakuntala is lost in the thought of the king, that is Dushyanta. At that time, what is happening? A rishi by the name Durvasa. He's a learned saint, but he has one problem. He got extreme temper. Extreme temper in the sense, at no time he will get anger. It doesn't take much time for him to get into anger with anyone, and it could be of small reason also. You could be getting angry. So people always want to make sure he is always kept cool. That's the character of Durvasa Rishi. So Durvasa Rishi, a learned saint, But the problem with him is he's a man with an extreme temper. Durvasa Rishi, a learned saint with an extreme temper, he came there and he's calling out to Shakuntala. So Durvasa Rishi, a Rishi with an extreme temper, he came there, and he was calling out to Shakuntala. She obviously does not hear him, and Shakuntala didn't hear Durvasa, and we can understand the reason must be Shakuntala has got lost in the thoughts of the king, and there is no doubt about that. She obviously does not hear him, and irritated by her lack of response, he cursed her. So what is happening over here? Yeah, Durvasa Rishi, he came and he was calling out to Shakuntala, but Shakuntala was lost in the thought of Dushyanta, and she didn't hear. Maybe the voice may have come to her ear, but since her brain has been totally occupied with the thoughts of Dushyanta, her brain may have neglected the thoughts that has come to her ears, and she didn't hear she didn't hear the voice of Dushyanta, and of course, as his character, he got angry. Now, this is a portion which you need to, I am not saying you to remember or by heart it, but if it is coming on the exam, you have to recollect, or you have to remember from where this passage comes from, and who talked this passage, and to whom this was talked. So all such things you should be able to remember. You need to understand in the passages of annotations, there are going to be passages which will be asked in your exam, and you can be sure that the passages will be of having much importance in that particular drama or poetry or wherever it's been taken. So whenever a particular passage or a portion is taken for the purpose of annotation, they will always choose passages which are important. So if you really study the text, and if you really study the passages, you will be remembering the same. You'll be remembering the passage when you see in the question paper. Now, it's a very interesting passage over here. You who do not notice me. So Durvasa got angry, and he is giving the curse. He's giving the curse to Shakuntala, and what is he saying? You who do not notice me. So Durvasa Rishi is telling, you who do not notice me. Who is this? Yeah, it is Shakuntala. Shakuntala is lost in her thoughts of Dushyanta, that she forgets to welcome or honor Dushyanta. Now, the second line, a hoard of merit standing at your doorstep. And you know what is doorstep, right? Yeah. A hoard of merit. So what is a hoard of merit? A sage like Durvasa represents spiritual power, blessings, and ability to grant merit. So he himself is telling, okay, I am a hoard of merit. That means I'm carrying a lot of blessings. So he is telling to Shakuntala, a lot of blessings has been standing at the doorstep. A lot of blessings has been standing at the doorstep, because you are lost in the thoughts of one. Because you are lost in the thoughts of one. And of course, Shakuntala is deeply absorbed in memories of her husband Dushyanta, to the exclusion of all else. She neglects everything else, including her duties to guests. So she was supposed to take care of the guest, and she forgets in her thought, and she is not able to she's not able to welcome the guest who came to her doorstep, since you are only thinking about one man and ignoring everyone else. Now, what is the curse that Shakuntala, Durvasa Rishi is giving, you shall be lost in his thoughts, though you guard his memory hard. So what is he saying? You shall be lost in his thoughts. The curse reverses Shakuntala's condition. Just as she forgot Durvasa in her absorption with Dushyanta, so too will Dushyanta forget her. So what is the curse being given to her? You shall be lost in his thoughts. You are totally lost in his thoughts. Now the second line say, though you got his memory hard. Even if Shakuntala tries hard to remind him of her love and their marriage, he shall fail to remember you. So that is the curse. So you will go and try, or what is being said over here is, even though you got his memory hard, that means even though how much you try to make him remember you, he shall fail to remember you. The king will not remember you. And the final line, it says, even as a drunk man, even as a man drunk remembers not thereafter the tale he told before. So what does it mean? A drunk person loses clarity of memory. Later, when he is sober, he forgets what he said. The tale he told before, just as the drunkard forgets his own story, Dushyanta will forget his love for Shakuntala. So this curse has come upon Shakuntala. So who got angry? Durvasa Rishi got really angry, and this was the curse he gave upon Shakuntala. You who do not notice me, that means Shakuntala, you didn't notice me. A horde of merit standing at your doorstep, doorstep, there was a greater amount of blessings. Because you are lost in thoughts of one, you were lost in thoughts of someone, to the exclusion of all else. You were thinking about somebody and you forgot everything. Now, what is going to happen to you? You shall be lost in his thoughts. You're going to be lost in his thoughts, even though you got his memory hard. Even though you got his memory hard, even though how much you try to make him remind, he shall fail to remember you. Even though how hard you try to remind him about your love and his love to you, he is not going to remember you. And how it will be? As a drunk man remembers not thereafter the tale he told before. So a drunk man may say a lot of tales, but after some time he forgets. After some time the drunkard would forget everything he has spoken. When the girls at the hermitage played with him, so there were other girls, or there were other girls who are helping the Shakuntala. When the girls at the hermitage played with him, so immediately when the girls realized that Shakuntala has received the curse, they are coming to help Shakuntala. The girls started to plead with the Durvasa Rishi. He modifies his curse. So he's not completely taking out the curse. He's modifying the curse and tells Shakuntala that the king will remember her when he sees the ring. So the Shakuntala, he's telling, okay, when the king sees the ring, he's going to remember you. Inevitably, but what is happening? Inevitably, en route to the palace, on the way to the palace, Shakuntala loses the king. So that is the fate. Shakuntala loses the king. It falls off her finger and is swallowed by a fish, which is caught and later gutted by a fisherman. So, and who finds the ring and wears it. So what is happening? It falls off her finger. The ring falls off Shakuntala's finger and is swallowed by a fish. And this fish is caught and later gutted by a fisherman. So later a fisherman catch this fish and caught this fish, and he opened the fish and he finds the ring. He finds the ring inside the fish's body or in the intestine, and he wears the ring. Till he is, for some time, he would have been wearing the ring and been walking here and there, till he is spotted by a palace guard who recognizes the ring and brings the fisherman whom he believes to be a thief. So, as he has been walking around with the ring of the king, one day a palace guard notices the ring of the king on the hand of this fisherman, and the palace guard thought that the fisherman would have stealed it. So the fisherman was taken to the king's palace. Meanwhile, at the same time, so this is happening at one place, and in the other place, what is happening? Meanwhile, when Shakuntala reaches the palace, the king has no recollection of her. So at the same time, it's not at the same time when the thief was brought to the palace. This happened after the Shakuntala has lost her ring. After losing the ring, Shakuntala goes to the palace, and in the palace, Shakuntala is meeting with the king, and the king is not recollecting her. The king cannot remember her. He totally forgets the Shakuntala. But the king is a good king, so he agrees Shakuntala to stay in the palace till the child is born. So he gave he gave the provision to Shakuntala to stay in the palace till the child is born. By the time after, or we can say it could be sometime Shakuntala could be staying in the palace or waiting for the baby to be born. Maybe after that, the king would have said, okay, after the baby is born, you need to go back to your place. That could have what the king told. So the Shakuntala is in the palace right now. And after some time, the fisherman was brought before the king. So after some time, the fisherman was brought before the king. Durvasa Rishi's curse is lifted and he remembered Shakuntala. So when the fisherman was brought before the king, and as soon as the king saw the signatory ring, immediately he remembers Shakuntala, and the already Durvasa has given the promise to Shakuntala that even king will remember you when he sees your ring. So as soon as the king got his sight into the ring, immediately the curse upon Shakuntala was lifted away, and the king could remember Shakuntala. There are other events at play, but this is the main storyline of the play. We know we cannot just speak the whole content of the story just like this. There are going to be so much and so much in the play, but this is the main storyline. Eventually, King Dushyanta, Shakuntala, and their son are reunited, and they return to the palace. So eventually, they all are reunited, and they all got back to the palace. So let's now go through the units in the block for a better understanding of the play. As I have already told you, this is one block, and in this block, we are having different units. We are having different units. So let's now go through the units in this block for a better understanding of the play. The cultural ethos of a long time. So what does ethos means? The character, spirit, or guiding beliefs of a person, community, or a culture. So what is ethos? The character, spirit, or guiding beliefs of a person, community, or culture. The ethos of Kerala's festivals is hospitality and togetherness. So we can see the cultural ethos in this drama. We are going to see the cultural ethos of a long time. The cultural ethos of a long time that may have existed in the world of myths and our collective imagination. So these cultural ethos has been existing in the world of myths and in our collective imagination. And as literature students, you are expected to read a lot many textbooks. So again, here you are recommended to read the translated text, and the text name is okay, here it is here. You are expected to read Kalidasa's Abhijnana Shakuntala, translated by Chandra Rajan, called Kalidasa. The the Loom of Time, New Delhi, Penguin, 1989. I think the publishers are the Loom of Time, and it's been published from New Delhi by Penguin in the year 1989. So as you study further, as you do research, and all the publishers, publishing place, all such things carry great importance. So right now, we don't have to worry too much about it. So let's now go through the units in this block for a better understanding of the play, the cultural ethos of a long time that may have existed in the world of myths and our collective imagination. Do read the translated text before you start reading the units, as this will give you a better grasp of the play. You are expected to read Kalidasa Abhijnana Shakuntala, translated by Chandrarajan, called Kalidasa, The Loom of Time, New Delhi, Penguin, 1989. I will quickly read it once again. Block introduction. Block 1 of this course on classical Indian literature will begin with Kalidasa's best-known Sanskrit play, Abhijnana Shakuntala, which tells the tale of a young girl raised in a hermitage by a sage and who is actually the daughter of an extremely learned sage Vishwamitra and a celestial dancer Menaka. King Dushyanta is hunting in the forest near the hermitage where Shakuntala lives with the hermit Kanva, raised as his daughter. After being abandoned by Vishwamitra and Menaka for various reasons, he comes to the hermitage unadorned as a commoner and falls in love with Shakuntala. Shakuntala and the king get married in the hermitage and she is with child. He has to leave for his kingdom, but he gives Shakuntala his signet ring as a token of his love for her. However, as fate would have it, Shakuntala is lost in the thought of the king while Durvasa Rishi, a learned saint with an extreme temper, is calling out to Shakuntala. She obviously does not hear him, and irritated by her lack of response, he curses her by saying, "You who do not notice me, a horde of merit standing at your doorstep, because you are lost in thoughts of one, to the exclusion of all else, you shall be lost in his thoughts. Though you guard his memory hard, he shall fail to remember you, even as a man drunk remembers not thereafter the tale he told before." When the girls at the hermitage plead with him, he modifies his curse and tells Shakuntala that the king will remember her when he sees the ring. Inevitably, en route to the palace, Shakuntala loses the ring. It falls off her finger and is swallowed by a fish, which is caught and later gutted by a fisherman who finds the ring and wears it till he is spotted by a palace guard who recognizes the ring and brings the fisherman, whom he believes to be a thief, before the king. Meanwhile, when Shakuntala reaches the palace, the king has no recollection of her, but agrees to let her stay in the palace till the child is born. When the fisherman is brought before the king, Durvasa Rishi's curse is lifted and he remembers Shakuntala. There are other events at play, but this is the main storyline of the play. Eventually, King Dushyanta, Shakuntala, and their son are reunited and they return to their palace. So let's now go through the units in the block for a better understanding of the play, the cultural ethos of a long ago time that may have existed in the world of myths and our collective imagination. Do read the translated text before you start reading the units, as this will give you a better grasp of the play. You are expected to read Kalidasa's Abhijnana Shakuntala, translated by Chandranajan, called Kalidasa, The Loom of Time, New Delhi, Penguin, 1989. So we will wind it up here, and from now onwards I will try to arrange classes for you, at least at least on alternative days. Maybe one day we can have the Malayalam class and the next day we can have a English class. Okay, so do watch. If you are not able to attend the classes, do watch the recorded sessions. So see you on the next class. Bye bye.